3 run, Whiskey 6 Lima Golf, W6LG, Whiskey 6 Lima Golf, QRZ Europe, Whiskey 6 Lima Golf.
Whiskey 6 Lima Golf, this is Juliet India 1, India Charlie Foxtrot, and thank you very much for your call.
Hi, I'm Jim, W6LG for Ham Radio Basics. Welcome to my radio room here on Wolf Mountain. A few months ago I did a video on how to call CQ, and that has been the most popular video that I've made, and that in turn has generated a lot of questions. And so I'd like to go over the process of calling CQ with respect to HF single sideband. I'm not talking about CW or UHF, EHF, which would be very different. But the process that I use for calling CQ, and I've followed this for more than 50 years. The idea of calling CQ is to get an answer. So one of the more basic things that you need to do when you're calling CQ is make sure that you say your call sign so that the person listening to you can get it. You may need to repeat your call sign a couple of times. We've talked about the phonetics that I recommend you use. There's a video you can go look at, but the ITU phonetics are generally accepted around the world, even by guys whose alphabet is maybe Cyrillic or something totally different from what we have. So giving your call sign in a way that it's understood, which probably means repeating it several times. The length of the time to call CQ depends on you, but probably 30 seconds is a good time frame. As I discussed in the first video, there are two kinds of CQ as far as I'm concerned. One is just sort of general, anybody, anywhere. The other one is directed perhaps at a country or a continent. You might want to call CQDX Russia or CQDX JA Japan, or you just might want to call CQ. In the process of calling CQ, one of the things that you might think about doing is making your CQ a little more interesting than just saying CQ, CQ, W6LG. You might say, for example, what I do sometimes is say CQ, CQ, W6LG, Whiskey 6 Lima Golf, with the antenna pointed east. Sometimes indicate I'm in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada. So I'm trying to make my CQ a little bit more interesting than just saying CQ, but that I might indicate where I am or the area that I'm looking for, and try to be friendly and engaging and in the CQ. In other words, somebody tuning across me, I'd like them to answer. So I try to be as friendly as I can and not be mechanical in the way I call CQ. And some guys do that. It's CQ, 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 and they give their call sign. And I think you get a better response if you add a few things to that, like from Northern California, or from Brooklyn, New York, or from the Appalachian Mountains, or from wherever. Adding a little bit of that to your CQ is going to help. It's going to make it more likely that somebody's going to respond. So we've discussed calling CQ, that there's at least two types that I know of. One is a directed CQ or a general CQ. Another thing that comes up in questions is your audio settings, and a lot of guys don't seem to get that right, and it's really pretty simple. You want the mic gain to be set so that the ALC meter is indicating probably in the bottom third or bottom half of that scale. On a lot of meters it's a red scale. You don't want it to go past the top because it's going to sound distorted. Also, I do recommend you use compression, but do 2, 3, 4, or 5 dB. Don't set it to 10 dB. Then you're distorted. Somebody listening to you may decide not to answer you because you're so distorted. And a lot of guys are that way, and it's really easy to set up the audio. Set the clipping compression for 2, 3, 4, 5 dB, and keep the ALC in the bottom range of the scale, and you'll sound fine. Don't add a lot of bass. you want to have highs in the audio. Make it so that it's easily understood. Make it conversational. Communication is the goal here, not broadcast audio. Also, something that I have trouble doing is slow down your speech a little bit, speak a little bit more clearly, and make it so that if the guy that's listening to you in, let's say, Russia, has the opportunity to get your call sign and understand what you're saying. Okay, and so make your CQ about 30 seconds long, and at the end of the CQ, make it clear that now you're listening, and that doesn't mean QRZ. QRZ means who's calling me, or there's a bunch of guys calling, and you weren't able to get a call sign, and you say QRZ, but say something like your call sign listening or over, or something to the effect that you've gone from transmit to receive, so the guy that's going to call you knows, okay, this is the time to call. When that person answers, be as engaging as you can. Don't be afraid to ask the guy or gal a few questions, maybe about that person's equipment or where he is. Some people are in really neat places, and it's fun to talk to them about it. And others have some great equipment, or they've done some home brewing of equipment. Sometimes you don't be afraid to say, if are you retired? Are you still working? Where do you work? I think those questions are okay. Politics and religion, I don't engage in that. I just don't think it's appropriate, and you're not going to change somebody's idea of who to vote for or convince them about a religious issue. So I stay away from those things. It just doesn't seem right. So calling CQ, it can be a lot of fun. So I encourage you to do it. Always ask if the frequency is in use before you call CQ. It's a good idea to do that 3 times. So is the frequency in use? Is the frequency in use? If somebody answers, yeah, it is, then move up and down at least 5 kilohertz to get away from the guy that's on that frequency. Anyway, I hope that answers some of the questions that some folks had about calling CQ. It's really probably the most basic thing that we do, and it's also one of the more fun things that we do. You never know who's going to answer, and sometimes that guy that answers ends up being a friend for years and years and years, and you end up exchanging emails and all kinds of things. So you're never serendipitous, I think, is probably the best way to describe what can happen. All right, that's my short dissertation on calling CQ. If you have some questions, please post them below. I'll try to answer them maybe in the next video. And if you've enjoyed this one, subscribe. Anyway, from Wolf Mountain in Northern California in what is known as the Gold Country, 73 from Jim, W6LG. Thanks.